Major support for Do the Math has been provided by Chevron, the Kern County Superintendent of Schools, Edison International, Valley Strong Credit Union, Panama Buena Vista Union School District, and the Kern High School District. With additional production assistance provided by these supporters of education in Kern County and throughout the state of California.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to Do the Math. I'm Michael.
I'm Cece.
I'm Anderson. For math homework help, call in Bakersfield 636-4357. Anywhere else, 1-866-636-6284. Email dothemath@curran.org. We are online at dothemathonline.net. And on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
All right, nicely done, Anderson. So where do you attend school and what grade are you in?
I am in 6th grade and I attend school at Hart Elementary.
So you're a Hawk.
Yes.
Have you been a Hawk for a long time or you recently doing it?
Since 3rd grade.
Since 3rd grade. All right, so you've been there for your intermediate grades.
Yeah.
What is the best thing you like about Hart? Because next year you're going to have to move. So what's one thing you think you'll miss or what's the best thing about it?
I might miss track.
Track?
Yeah.
So you like running track. Mm-hmm. So is that something that you've done for a couple of years or something that's new?
It's something I've done since 4th grade.
Okay. So do you like the shorter distances, long distances? You do all of it? Or?
I do more of the mid, like 800 meter.
Okay. So the mid. So like the half mile and stuff like that. You pretty fast?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That a boy. All right. So is there anything in math class that you've been working on that has been kind of difficult this year so far?
Not really.
Okay, so it's been pretty smooth sailing so far?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know you're working on some equations, so we're going to do a couple of those today also, all right? Mm-hmm. But before we do any of that, let's first take a look at today's problem of the day. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, it's going to be up on the monitor up here. This is the math problem of the day that is presented on social media, and then people submit their answers and they see whether or not they were right or wrong, and we're going to see if you and I can figure this out. So it says, find the quotient. What does that even mean? Do you know what that means?
The answer to a division problem.
There you go. Perfect. All right. So what do you think is the first thing you want to do here?
Well, my teacher taught me this thing called keep, change, flip. But before that even, you would want to turn both numbers to fractions.
All right. Well, the first one is, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not all the way because you still have to convert the one into a fraction.
So how do I do that?
You would, the one would become 4/4.
Okay.
And then you just add the one more from the 1/4, so you'd have 5/4.
Good. I'm glad that you said that like that. Instead of saying take the 4, multiply by the 1, you know that 1 is 4/4 because of the other denominator. So we have 5/4 divided by 3. Now what do we do?
You take the 3 and you multiply 3 by 4, which would equal 12. Then you put it over 4. Because when you multiply by 4, that would be the bottom number, in a sense. And then the top number will be 12. And if you divided them, you get 3.
So out of those options that we have up there, A, B, C, and D, do you see one that you think is going to satisfy this?
It wouldn't be D because that's the exact same number as the starting number.
Good. So that's great reasoning right there, right?
Yeah.
You can't have this one number divided it by 3 and then have the same number, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what else you think?
It wouldn't be C because that's that's similar to them being just added together or very close to that, and it's division, so it doesn't get bigger, it gets smaller.
Okay.
And so it would leave A and B. A is probably less reasonable because it's it's too even in a sense.
Okay.
It's like just flat out 1/2.
It is 1/2, right? So it sounds like you're going to go with B.
Yeah.
And the way you were explaining it is probably different than the way some kids might be looking at it. Mm-hmm. But the way you explained it and the way you reasoned it and you're comfortable with B. You willing to take a shot on this?
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look and see if B is indeed correct. Ah, B is correct. There you go, Anderson. First one done. That's pretty easy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, we did that with mental math. Didn't even have to do anything, writing down stuff like that. Just kind of verbally go through it. You know the steps, right? And so that was a perfect first problem of the day. Feeling pretty good?
Yeah.
All right. Just a reminder, we do have phone tutors available every Tuesday and Wednesday, most Tuesdays and Wednesdays throughout most of the school year. Time now for today's Math in the News. All right, well, today's Math in the News, we are fortunate enough because baseball has been around for over 100 years, and this is by far our favorite player and coach out of all of those plus 100 years. Mike McCarthy, how are you today, Mike?
Good. How you guys doing?
We're doing great. Even better now that you're back with us on the show. So you are nice enough to join us every year since, way back at your CSUB playing days, and since you've been in professional ball, you've been kind enough to help us out on Do the Math.
Happy to. It's been great. Education was a huge part of my life and how I got to be where I'm at today as a coach. And so I'm grateful for what you guys do and always happy to help kids learn.
All right. Well, first of all, let's talk about what you do, because you sent us a presentation and we're going to kind of go through these right now. So the first one is, who is Mike McCarthy and what does he do?
Yeah, my name's Mike McCarthy. I'm Major League Pitching Coach. I've been with the Minnesota Twins, San Diego Padres, and the Oakland A's the last few years. I played professionally with the Red Sox in the AAA. I am a CSUB alumni. I was a pre-med biology major there, and then I did my MBA after I got done playing, and while I was in between playing and coaching. And then my emphasis really is around biomechanics, skill acquisition, and the application of data on field.
All right. Well, I know that when we were able to go up and visit you in Oakland and see you in action at work, it was pretty exciting. And then being able to kind of follow your career and where you're at and all of the great things that you're doing. So today we're going to talk about biomechanics. So what is biomechanics?
Yeah, and I brought my cheat sheet. This great definition by Rachel McPherson says biomechanics is the science of the movement of a living body, including how muscles, bones, tendons, and ligaments work together in movement. Biomechanics is part of the larger field of kinesiology, specifically focusing on movement mechanics. In short, it's the study and analysis of how all the individual parts of the body work together to make up athletic and everyday movements.
All right, so
it's a mouthful,
the definition.
But that's essentially a good explanation. Yep.
Right, so the first video we've got is you golfing.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about this.
When we think about biomechanics, like it's in our everyday movements, how we walk, it's how we move. And so I just happen to have a video here of me golfing at Top Golf. So I thought this was a great example. So you can go and play that. Man, what a swing.
Yeah, what a swing.
That's
I was going to say, how many times or was that the first take?
There was a few bloopers before that, falling down, all that stuff. So, but as you can see in that video, right, it's the movement of my body through space, right? How my muscles, my tendons, my bones are all working together to create a movement pattern. And they produce force into a golf club, and that produces force into the ball, and we get the outcome that we're looking for.
All right, so let's go to the next one. And this one intrigued me a little bit because we see Hannah holding out some seeds and some birds coming.
So as you can see, I got a little creative with the videos, right? Biomechanics, again, is in everything we do. So these birds flapping their wings and how they're moving, how they interact with the force of their feathers, their bone structure, their muscles, are all creating force that then allows them to fly or to hover and land. To pull this bird seed, this is a Lake Tahoe out feeding the chickadees on the east side. And this is a great example of biomechanics. So it's in our everyday lives. It's all around us.
Right. So even though kids may think, oh, well, this is something I have to go study and stuff, you can see it all the time.
Absolutely. Watch somebody walk, watch their gait, watch somebody out going for a run or a jog. Anything that we do that has to do with movement and force, biomechanics is involved.
All right. So the next video we've got is of, I'm going to take this, one of your players in the bullpen in Oakland.
Yeah, this is. So this is one of our players. He can throw 100 miles an hour, which is one of the hardest fastballs in baseball. And he's about 6'6", 6'7". And you see here how he's moving down the mound. He has this massive wave of energy. He collects at the top, creates a lot of force, a potential energy, and then he transfers into kinetic energy as he moves down the mound. You'll see his direction down the mound is really strong, how he's using his lower half, and it transfers from his pelvis to his hips, to his arm, to his hand. And that wave of energy is producing force into the ball.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of times kids think, and younger, when kids are just getting into baseball, they think they have to have a strong arm in order to be a pitcher or to be able to throw a ball really well. But a lot of it comes from the power of your legs, which is why a lot of pitchers talk about making sure their bottom half is as strong, if not stronger, than their upper half.
Absolutely. And you could think of it kind of like a rocket ship, right? We've got 4 main boosters. Number 1 is our pelvis. Number 2 is our shoulders. Number 3 is our arm. And number 4 is our hand. And so we want that wave of energy to start in the lower half, to transfer up the chain through the shoulders, arm, and into the hand. The same thing with a hitter or a golfer. They're going to turn their hips, they're going to turn their shoulders, arms, hand, and then whatever the implement is. So a bat or a club or whatever they might have.
All right, so now with the next slide that we've got here is what does biomechanics look like? And you've got some, actually a lot of information here, starting from the pelvis and then working its way up.
So now what you can see is where the mathematics comes into play. So we've seen the visual, we look at the videos, we say, wow, that's amazing, but how do we quantify it? And these waves are in frames, and they're looking at a period of time in the delivery. So as that person's moving, they're going to start to rotate and create force. And we can measure each one of those components. We measured off times in rotational speed. That's in degrees per second. And so you'll see on the left, it goes pelvis. Let me pull it up right here. Sorry about that. So you'll see that it goes pelvis, then trunk, elbow, shoulder, and hand. And we're able to quantify each of those at the bottom. And so those numbers signify a time and space and how fast that piece is moving. So the pelvis is moving at 700 plus degrees per second. Then here come the shoulders, then the arm, then the hand, and each of those waves signifies that.
So this probably is common sense for you, but looking at this right now, is because of the movement and how fast it's moving, is this why these guys get a lot of elbow injuries and then have to have surgery because of the tear on the tendons and things like that?
Absolutely. So when we produce a large amount of force, the more force you create, the more likely it is to break. That's just a natural part of society. The same thing with race cars or anything else. Like when we do something at a higher or faster way, there's more forces acting on the body, and so the body has to take on more load. And that same thing goes on for us. So as we start to rotate, we throw the ball, our pelvis rotates, our shoulder rotate, it forces a huge amount of what's called external rotation. That's this movement in the shoulder here. As that happens, this elbow has a flexor tendon or a flexor mass, a muscle, that goes across it, and there's a UCL, the ulnar collateral ligament that's underneath that. When that flexor wears out and it gets tired, or maybe we reduce movement in the shoulder, it puts more pressure on the elbow, and that's where we see a lot of those elbow injuries come from. Other injuries like back injuries, shoulder injuries, etc., but elbow injuries are the big ones in baseball that we, especially for pitchers.
Right, and those are the ones that people are most familiar with, is those UCLs, or Tommy John surgery is what a lot of people probably refer them to also. So the next slide, we've got the different types of pitches and what those look like also.
Yeah, so the next slide, we're looking at how the body, we're breaking apart the movement pattern based on pitch type. So you can imagine if I'm throwing the ball like this and I tilt one way with my shoulders on my fastball, but I stay upright on my changeup, I'm telling the hitter's up there watching, he's waiting. He sees the body turn differently and he knows what pitch is coming. We're trying to hide that deception as long as possible, staying in the same window, the same movement pattern until release to create as much deception as possible. When we do that, we get more ground balls or soft contact, swings and misses, and then that turns into more outs for our team. And that's the object of the game, how we end up creating more success. You can imagine the same type of thing with a golfer as they rotate in terms of their different shots, right? When they swing the club, they want to have a very similar movement pattern with it. They may change their posture a bit based on the club they're swinging, but they tend to have the same sequencing, similar postural positions to create force. So the ability to replicate that with different pitches or different clubs is a crucial part of what we do.
Right, because a lot of times, I mean, we've had spoken with some students at CSUB on the golf team, and keeping that movement the same and consistent, the club will alter the distance on it. You don't need to change the swing, much like what you're talking about here right now. So the next one, how do we use biomechanics? And as soon as I saw this, it was like, hey, hit the toucan, win a cigar, right? With John, we were talking about that. And like a carnival game, but talk to us a little bit more about the video we're going to see here.
Yeah, so you can see a pitcher here doing a very simple drill. It's called a walking windup. He's going to step into it with his back leg, and he's creating forward momentum. So by moving fast toward the target, he's now overloading his system and creating more energy. He's practicing now his body moving quicker. This triggers what's called the central nervous system to move faster, trains his body to move quicker in general, and help him create more what we call center of mass speed. That center of mass speed translates into more velocity in the pitch. And when we can add more velocity of pitch, that improves performance. That improved performance turns into more outs. And so for him, these different drills, we may see a guy doing a drill here, creating shoulder hip separation as he throws. That's to help his pelvis learn to turn ahead of his shoulders. Some guys will accidentally move as one piece. So we try to break that apart by doing different drills to improve the biomechanics of the body.
All right, so I know this is a big part of what you do with Major League Baseball teams and working with pitchers, but then how do you know it's effective? And you sent us a little something here to take a look at.
Yeah. Perfect. So what you have here is a variety of different metrics that we can look at using things like weighted averages, expected averages, swing and miss rates, whiff rates, in-zone rates, batting average on balls in play. These are all metrics that we can measure, and we can quantify these based on time. We can quantify these based on an outing, an inning. We can break them down however we need to see, are we seeing the results we need? So if we see that body moving slower in the third inning through the fifth inning versus the first and second inning, we know maybe the velocity might trend downward. But so we will go back and look at the biomechanics of it. If we see the velocity staying the same, we might see some in there. We may see an arm slot drop. We're going to try to use that to quantify the results in terms of velocity, swings and misses, and most importantly, getting out and helping the team win the game. We can track those things over different periods of time based on where we see the biomechanics playing out, or based on where we see the results are, and we're going to go look at the biomechanics. So those work in a very back and forth fashion.
All right, so there's a lot of stuff that you're going over with the guys in the bullpen as opposed to just like, all right, get yourself up, get ready. There's a lot of stuff that you're looking at before the game even starts, during the game, and things like that. So when you get a call down to the bullpen, is it always they're letting you know who they want up, or is it kind of you guys are collaborating together and you go, hey, you know, I've been down here, you know, every day with these guys, and this guy needs some work and he's ready to go in now or something?
Yes, the bullpen coach is very much the assistant, and so they're listening to the major league pitching coach and the manager on who they want in the game. The manager is the default person. He's in charge. He runs the game, and he tells you, "Hey, I want this guy getting loose." He'll work with the pitching coach in the dugout to decide on that, and then before the game, we'll have talked about strategic matchups. Hey, if we're coming in against the fifth hitter and it's Albert Pujols, right, or it's Shohei Ohtani, or whoever that person may be, we want a strategic matchup against them. So it might be this right-hander or that left-hander. If we are in a situation where we're down by a lot of runs, we may have what's called our long guy. There's a guy who can throw 3 or 4 innings at a time. He may be the guy to go in the game. If we're in the 9th inning, you have your closer. Oftentimes those are pre-scripted, but at the end of the day, the decision is made in the dugout by the manager with input from the pitching coach.
All right, well, some great information, and you've also given us a slide if kids want some more information on this. There are some websites that you've got here, and we certainly do appreciate that. And Mike, a final thing for you. I know because you are a pitcher and have been, and so working in that capacity. During the off season, because right now the World Series is about to come to an end in the next couple of days, or tonight for all we know, how often are these guys throwing before spring training starts, or are they not doing it at all?
So each guy is going to customize that based on where they're at in their workload. Some guys like to take extended periods of time off, maybe 8 or 10 weeks. Some guys will do that and they'll play catch every other day. Just really light 20, 25 throws, just keeping their body moving, keeping their mechanics good, but not a lot of intent behind it or velocity. So each guy is different. If we've seen little injuries, our players play 162 games in the regular season. You have 25 spring training games, and then playoffs, you can have 10, 15 more games on top of that, sometimes even more. So that huge workload, we want to check in on that. Have they had any injuries throughout the year, shoulders, elbows, hips, and make sure that those are in good shape before we start throwing again. But a lot of guys do throw more throughout the year than they did, say, 15 or 20 years ago, where they had these huge shutdown periods. A lot of guys just do 2 or 3 days a week of playing catch.
All right. Well, Mike McCarthy, thank you once again for sharing your expertise with us. As I said, and I'm not fooling around, our favorite player and coach of all time. Thank you for sharing some more time with us.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for having me, and thanks for all you do.
All right, and that is today's Math in the News. Just a reminder, we do have Math Tutors most Tuesdays and Wednesdays throughout the regular school year. We've got Anderson, a 6th grade student from Hart Elementary, in studio with us. And it looks as though you're working on some equations. Yeah. So we're going to have you and Cece work on some that you haven't got to yet, and we'll check on some of the ones that you've already done. All right?
That's good.
So the first one you haven't done. So Cece, if you want to go ahead and put it up on
Sure.
the board, we have 66 equals 4, open parentheses, 2x minus 3, close parentheses, plus 2, open parentheses, x plus 4.
Gonna hand it over. All right, let's see what you can do. And tell us what you're doing as you're doing it.
Well, my gate teacher taught me that when you have parentheses, to get rid of them, you multiply the outside by the inside if there's no, what's it called? If there's no symbol here.
Okay, right. Yeah, so we know that it's implied that that's multiplication. So 4 times the parentheses, yes.
So it would be 4 times 2x,
Okay.
which would equal 4x.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
4
There's-
times 2?
Oh, erase. Eight.
There you go. I like it. Okay.
And then a positive times a negative will always equal negative.
Okay.
So 4 times 3 would be 12, and you make it a negative. So negative 12
Lovely.
plus. Then you do the same here because they're separated by this. They
Sure.
aren't really all together.
Okay.
So you can still do another half of it. 2 times x, just put an imaginary 1 there. It's the equivalent.
Okay. It's again, it's implied, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
2 times 1, 2, x.
Okay.
And then positive 4 times 2
Okay.
would be equal to 8. So you just put 8 there, and then you'd have your first part of the equation.
Okay, so that to me looks like 2 times 8. Is that what I want to see right there?
No. Don't I just put the plus?
Absolutely, yes, because we need to show that we're adding. Absolutely nice. Okay, so that should be equal to what?
This in the end, well, you can't add them together because it hasn't.
We just
added
want to
up.
bring this down.
Equals
There you go.
66.
Lovely. Okay.
The next step you do would be you'd add the x's.
Okay.
So 8x plus 2x
Okay.
would equal 10x.
Nice.
And then probably in the same step, you could add the 2 normal numbers.
Okay.
Negative 12 plus positive 8,
Okay.
which would equal 4, negative 4.
Lovely. Good. All right.
So this is what you'd have, and it would be equal to
Okay.
66.
I like it. Now what's next?
Next step would be to get rid of this.
Okay, so we're trying to isolate our variable, right? We're
Yeah.
trying to solve for x. Okay.
If you remove a number from this side of the equation, you'd have to take it from the other side.
Okay.
So it would be plus 4 because it's a negative 4.
Okay.
So, and then plus 4, which would equal 70,
Okay.
which is equal to 10x.
Okay, so magically those 4s just fall off. Is
Yeah.
that what happens?
They just go away.
It's magic.
Yes, magic.
Are you sure it's magic?
Well,
Tell me why it's not quite magic.
It's you're doing the opposite of it. It's a negative 4
Okay.
plus a positive 4.
Which gives you
0.
0. And so we don't need to show that there's a 0 there, so we're
Yeah.
good to go. Okay, so next.
Next you would do, well, you have to divide 70 by 10
Why?
because currently this 10x, this is just think when there's a space between a variable and a number,
Okay.
it's multiplication, and when
Okay.
things are in parentheses next to each other, it's multiplication.
Perfect.
So just put that imaginary, strength.
We can do a,
Imagine
there we go.
just
We can
imagine
do a little dot there. For
a
multiplication.
little
Okay.
multiplication symbol
Okay.
right there.
Okay.
So next you divide by 10,
Okay.
which should give you 7,
Okay.
which is equal to Like I told you earlier, 1x.
Okay, because what we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. So 10 divided by 10 gives us our, ooh,
Oh no.
uh-oh,
I'm
go
going
ahead.
to undo that. I
go
was just
ahead.
getting this box out of there. There you
Oh, it was you.
go. It was like magic, wasn't it?
It was like
Yeah.
It was
magic.
magical. The
Okay,
madness,
all
didn't
right.
it?
Magical.
There you go.
Oh, easy. Got the buzzer on that one.
Okay, so now my question is, do we need the 1 there in front of the x?
No, it could just be 7 is equal to x.
Okay, good.
And
Now,
I know that a lot of times kids are told to check their answers
Right,
and do
yeah.
that, and you guys are going to do that in a moment. But first, for some great work so far, because I think you've just started doing equations, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so some great work so far. You got yourself a pass to COM, so congratulations
look, and they made you the
on that.
goat.
And we're going to check out Mickey and the optometrist right now.
How's that, Mickey?
Yeah, I need glasses. I'll keep wearing them. Welcome everybody here in the office of Lee and Lee Optometry here with Dr. Lee. Thanks for having us today. Appreciate you letting us in
Appreciate
the
it.
office. And so optometry, I mean, obviously I need glasses. I think we just verified that again for the world to know. Optometry, you know, looking through the lenses as an optometrist, what are the first steps in helping someone develop better vision and giving them a prescription?
Well, I think, relating it back to math and numbers, think about what we do every day. It involves so many numbers all day long, and the basic of it is prescription. There's someone who's nearsighted, there's farsightedness, there's astigmatism, and all of it's measured in what we call diopters. So there's units of measurements. And someone's very nearsighted, they're like a -8, -10. Someone who's farsighted, +5, +6. Someone with astigmatism, again, more numbers. So we're constantly, on a day-to-day basis, incorporating numbers into metrics to just give a simple thing like a prescription.
What does that look like for the glasses? What's the difference in how they're made or what they do for my eye to allow me to see farther or closer with that crystal clear vision we always look for?
What does it do? Obviously, there's perfect vision, which is what called 20/20.
Okay.
Someone with less than perfect vision, we'd rate it. So, for instance, we have the eye chart, and depending on what we measure you at, we may measure you at 20/60, or if someone who's really bad, they can't see far away, we'd rate them at 2400, for instance. And it's basically the equivalent of if what you see, someone with perfect vision sees from 400 feet away.
Okay, so I can see at 20 feet what someone sees at 400 feet.
Right. The flip side is what's the best vision possible? We kind of stop at 20/20, but in reality, we can go as low as 2015 or 2010 even. So for instance, a fighter pilot, it's super important that they see as good as they can, even without glasses. So if you want to go fly for the military, you've got to have the best vision possible without even glasses or contact lenses. Otherwise, you won't even qualify.
So it really comes down to the numbers, how you measure it, nearsighted versus farsighted. Now, what about the shape of the lenses? I mean, do they change? Like, are some concave, convex, or are they all the same, just with varying thicknesses and prescriptions?
We do in quarter increments.
Okay.
So it's as little as 0.25, 0.5, 0.75 to 1.
Okay.
And then et cetera.
Gotcha.
And so 0 again is perfect. You've got +10, really, really bad. And that's
Okay.
going to be our convex lens typically.
Perfect.
And then on this side of the fence, you have -1, -1.25, -5, -10.
Okay.
Someone's very nearsighted, and that lens is actually the opposite, and it actually makes your eyes look smaller. This is someone with +8.
Okay.
Look how it makes my eyes really big,
Okay.
right?
Gotcha.
This is someone who's the opposite, is -8.
Oh, I can already see almost your entire face just holding it.
Right,
It
and
takes
you'll
all
see
of
how
in.
it makes things small. So the opposite, if you see +8, -8, the difference, it appears,
Okay.
right? So, and then if you look at the lens itself, there's difference in thicknesses. I don't know if you can pick that up, right? So depending on the prescription, it has a different type of lens, different magnification, and again, the severity. So this is extreme. Obviously, really bad, 20 bad, right?
Okay.
But it gives you a very good indication of the differences from plus to minus to big numbers, small numbers.
So when people get their prescription from any optometrist and it says, minus 0.25 on the left, plus 0.25 on the right, that's their adjustment they need, that their eyes, because it's all based on light reflecting to the back, correct?
If someone with perfect vision, the light is focused exactly on the retina and the back of the eye. Someone who's nearsighted, the light is focused actually more before the retina. And if someone who's farsighted, it's behind the retina. So ultimately, glasses, lenses, refractive surgery, it's all about refocusing the light from where it naturally is to smack dab on the retina.
So that's when people say, I have blurry vision, it's that light is not hitting it at the right spot in the back of the eye?
Yep.
Awesome. Well, we'll be back here in a little bit to talk about the health of the eye and go deeper into that conversation of what is a healthy eye and when do we notice might be some complications arising. We need to go from there.
Well, thanks to Mick on that, and also Dr. Lee for taking a look at Mick and explaining a little bit more about those eyes and the charts, because everybody thinks, I've got 20/20, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. Anyway, Anderson is a 6th grade student from Hart Elementary in studio with us. Did one of the equations today, but the important thing is to go back and you can always check your answer. That's what he's about to do now.
Okay, so I went ahead and I rewrote the equation, sort of. What did I leave out of that equation?
All the x's are left with blank spots.
Why did I do that?
Well, usually those blank spots would be where the x's are, but we know what x is.
Okay,
So you take that number
okay,
and you insert it here. 7, 7.
okay,
As you know, anything outside the parentheses, you multiply by.
okay.
So 14 minus 3 in parentheses still, we never took it out, plus 2, and then in parentheses 7 plus 4 parentheses. Since
Okay.
there's nothing here, or what would have been a 1 as we originally put,
Okay. Yep, you're right.
you just multiply 7 by 1.
So our order of operations tells us that we need to be working inside of our grouping symbols first, right? So we did the inside of our parentheses first, and within the inside of our parentheses, the first thing to do was the multiplication portion. So we've got that done. Okay, so now what's the next part?
The next part would be to solve inside here.
Okay,
So first you go 14 minus 3, it's basic fact,
okay,
11.
lovely.
So you'd remove the parentheses, but originally 4 would be times 11, so you just put an x. 4 times 11.
Okay,
Then you'd take the plus 2, you would just come back down here. Then you'd solve for this one.
Okay.
7 plus 4, same as 14 minus 3,
Okay.
11.
good,
And you'd put multiplication.
okay,
Then order operations will tell you 4 times 11, 40. 4 plus 2 times 11. And then carry this down. Plus 22,
okay.
66.
Okay, so we just got to 66. Are we satisfied?
Well, just make sure. Is that the same
Okay.
as this?
Awesome. And it is. So we know that as long as 7s are in that place for the x's, this is going to give us 66.
Oh no.
Oh, well, it is equal to 66. That was sort of magic.
66.
Wow, we got a lot of magic happening today, yeah?
And you thought there
All
was
right.
no magic going on. You're like, explain the
Oh,
magic
yeah,
to me,
okay,
right?
I don't know.
3 instances now.
There we
so
go.
it's not once, but twice, but thrice, all
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So nicely done. Oh, ding dong on that one, right? So I'm glad that you guys went through that process, because a lot of times when students are starting to do equations, they're told to check the answer.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times kids want to take the easy way out. They're going, I did it, I'm hoping it's 7.
Right.
That's what it is. They're hoping it's 7.
Right.
Right? But when you actually do it, it doesn't take that long to check the answer. So nice work right there. 636-4357 is that phone number. We're going to check out more with Mickey and Dr. Lee.
All right, we're back here with Dr. Lee. We've looked at the prescription of how to figure out what are my eyes doing, what kind of correction do they need. I don't think a lot of people see this all too often. They just think, oh, 1 or 2, this is better. I can see the letters clearly. But we went and did some imaging on my eyes, and this to me doesn't look like an eye. I see kind of like a chicken egg, maybe. But what are we looking at here? What's the image?
Some people say it looks like Saturn, right? So these are images we took of the back of the eye. And we took a series of testing and imaging in the back. So this is the back of your right eye, the back of your left eye. Now, first off, it's pretty obvious, a lot of red. Well, that's all the blood inside the eyes, first off. So we're looking at the blood vessels, we're looking for changes. It could be with blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, systemic issues that a lot of our patients have in our society now. That all affects the back of the eye because of all the blood vessels. So we're looking for narrowing of the blood vessels, and we're grading that amount, what's normal, what's abnormal. And then of course we're looking at the nerve, which is, if I can blow this up a little bit, right here, these are called optic nerves. And these are the cables that connect the eyes to the brain. And so what we're looking for is, with glaucoma, we're looking for loss of the nerve tissue. So we actually measure the size of the nerve. We compare your nerves versus what's quote unquote normal.
Okay.
Which would be maybe 0.4, 0.5. So again, there's some metrics involved, there's some math involved, and we're looking for changes over time. With glaucoma, we lose the nerve tissue, so a 0.4 eventually may become 0.5, 0.6, which indicates loss of nerve tissue.
Okay.
And loss of nerve tissue equates to loss of vision. So that's another thing we're looking for. Area in the middle is the area we call the macula, which is where the central clarity and color vision comes from. There's a disease that's pretty devastating in some of our senior population called macular degeneration. We don't like that. And here we do a couple, again, series of testing. Here we're looking for actual inflammation and leak inside the eyes. And this last one's super cool. We're actually doing like an ultrasound or a CAT scan of the retina tissue. So as I scroll with this little green bar here, we're actually taking these little cross-section cuts into the tissue. And so what you'll see is, it's not just one layer. There's different layers to the retina, top layer, middle layer, innermost layer. And so again, abnormalities, swelling, thickening would show up anytime as we scroll through. And of course, those would create vision problems for us. There are tools within the software that allows us to actually measure. I've been doing it for so long, a lot of times I can just eyeball and get a good grade on that, and then it's a matter of record keeping. Consistency, no change, no news is good news is what we're aiming for. But as soon as we see some changes, then we have to look at the reasons behind it.
I never thought that my optometrist would be looking for blood pressure, diabetes, all these other factors that people might think their primary care doctor or internal medicine looks at. But it does play into the health of the eye. And so I don't think a lot of people realize how much your body's intertwined.
Oh, absolutely. The eyes are telling you there's some changes there. And if they're happening in the eyes, not only can it affect the vision, but those same changes are happening in the eyes are happening throughout your whole body. So this is someone with either blood pressure or diabetes, and when we zoom in here on the periphery, you'll see, this little area.
Oh.
So that's some bleeding in the back of the eye. Wow. Now, I think the key to understand is okay, what's the causes?
Okay.
We don't know until we do blood work, right? But what's interesting is, this patient probably sees great, because this area here, which is what we call the macula, is pristine. So they're walking around feeling like, I see great with my glasses, I have no problems at all. Meanwhile, there's bleeding in the back of the eye out on the sides, so they don't realize it. So this is a situation where we want to educate our patients, and hey, this is going on. We don't want it to get worse, but we also want to find out what's the underlying cause for that. And you have to go get some blood work done and see exactly what's causing this in the back of the eye.
So if it's happening in one eye, is it typically happening in the other eye at the same time, or can they be vastly different?
This is a situation where it certainly can be in one eye only. But again, it's a matter of, okay, what's the cause? And that's what we have to dig a little bit.
Well, when we return, we'll be back to talk about how do you become an optometrist and what goes into specializing potentially in that field.
And again, thanks to Mick and Dr. Lee right there. And amazing how much stuff they can find out by looking at the blood vessels in your eyes as far as other ailments or things you need to be concerned with in your body just by looking at blood vessels in the eye. So I found that fascinating also when I was there. All right, Anderson, a 6th grade student from Hart. You did your first equation on live TV. You
Yes.
checked it. So you ready for this one?
Yeah.
All right, we wrote it up there, and it's all for you.
Well, I mean, it's the exact same type of problem, so you'd take the same way you solved the previous one, nothing there, multiply. Since you don't know what x is, it would be 5 times 7, which would equal, what is it? You got it.
5 times 6 is
I forget.
So 5, 10.
35.
There you go.
35. And then it's negative x. So it'd be negative 5x. Just imagine a 1 being there.
Absolutely.
Multiply that 5 by 1 and carry down the x.
Nice.
Plus 12x. This all is equal to 0.
Okay.
Next thing you do would be add the x's.
Okay.
But since 1's a negative, it's kind of like subtraction 12 minus 5.
Okay. Did you ever learn how to do adding and subtracting with like thinking about it like money? Did you ever learn it that way? Okay. How did you just kind of memorize? You just know your rules. Yeah. Okay. Which is fine.
Yeah.
One other way to do it is to say, so if we have talk about negative money, if you owe somebody $5 and then you get $12, you got to pay off that person. How much money do you have left?
7.
There you go.
You'd have 7x. And then this is a subtraction symbol and a negative symbol. 35.
Okay, so we have 35 minus 7x. Are you very sure?
Doesn't this go where?
So when you said negative 5, positive 12,
It came out as 7.
correct. What kind of 7?
Positive 7.
There you go,
Oh.
positive 7. Nice. There we are. Okay, perfect.
And then that's all equal to 0.
And I'm glad you guys did that because I think just by verbalizing it, he got it because he was thinking one thing. He knew it was
Absolutely.
7.
Yep.
But when you verbalize it and you say negative 5 plus 12 is positive 7, I think that helps a lot of students
Yeah.
also
Right.
when they start with this.
Absolutely.
Then you'd do the simple addition. 35 plus 7x, but you can't do that.
Okay.
It's an x. You don't know the value of it.
True. Okay, good. That's very true.
The very first thing you do would subtract 35 because there's nothing to state that's a negative.
Okay.
We have to do the same thing to this. Subtract 35. And 0 become negative 35, but negative.
Okay, so 0 minus 35 gives us our net. There you go.
35.
So 0 minus 35 gives us negative 35. Okay, and then the 35 minus 35 is,
0.
but we don't need it because it's 0. That's fine.
So positive 7x is equal to 35.
Okay.
We no longer need this positive
True.
symbol.
True. It's implied. Okay, good.
So the final steps would be divide.
Okay.
As we did up here and I struggled with,
Okay.
we would do the opposite
Uh-huh.
and we'd end up with 5 because that's the one number that's not in this
True.
problem.
Let's go ahead and show that though. Let's show our work.
Divided by 5.
Are you sure?
7.
There we go.
You gotta get it.
Because what's our goal? Our goal is to what?
Find out what 1x is
What
equal to.
1x is. So if we divide 7 divided by 7, or 7x divided by 7, that leaves us with 1x, and that's what we're going for.
X.
Okay.
Or 0x.
Or just x.
Yeah, or just
Yep.
x. Then negative 35 would be 5. And then there you have it.
Are you absolutely confident?
Well, not until you check it.
Oh, very
But
good.
we're going to have him check it
we are-
as we go
Oh, okay,
and first
okay,
check
okay.
with Mick
All right.
and see what it takes to be an optometrist.
And welcome back. We're back here at Lee and Liao Optometry with Dr. Dawson Lee. Thanks so much for showing us around the office today. It's really amazing to see what goes into helping someone see things clearly in the world, from getting a prescription to checking the health of their eye. I think a lot of people don't realize all the steps that go into making sure someone has correct vision. But going backwards a little bit, how do you get into this field? I mean, how did you get into it? Is there a certain type of university you go to, or is it any public university? How does someone become an optometrist?
That's a great question. So I think first off, it's typical to have a undergrad degree, so bachelor's of science of some sort of degree, and then after your undergrad, there's 4 years of optometry school.
Okay.
So it's additional schooling, so when you're done, it's a doctorate of optometry. So it's a 4-year program, and then there's typically some clinical training in there as well. You do have the option afterwards to specialize even further if you want to really focus in on pediatrics, geriatrics, conic lens, or disease, that's a whole additional layer of residency on top of the 4-year program. That's not mandatory, but that's something if you wanted to just kind of fine-tune more skills or get more knowledge and then afterwards apply that to whatever mode of practice you want to go into optometry. There's lots of different options. There's private practice with what we do in our office. There's also, I think, your retail type of commercial optometry. There's clinical optometry if you want to work in a clinical setting with an ophthalmologist, for instance, or if you want to do like LASIK, refractive surgery. So there's all little different specific genres of optometry. It's however you decide to practice. Ultimately, we love it because we're trying to make a difference for our patients through their vision, so improve your quality of life through what you see. I think it's one thing that we all take for granted until it goes bad on us.
Do you specialize in anything specific after that doctorate of optometry, or are you guys more the general practice and you refer out for specialized care?
Great question. So I think we are a big family practice, so we do a lot of primary care. Majority of our patients come in because they want glasses, they want contacts to improve their day-to-day life. But within our office, especially in Bakersfield, we do have some issues. We've got dryness issues. Probably 25% of our patients have some level of dryness.
I take it that's the air temperature, air
Man,
quality, all the good stuff
You've
a little
got
bit in the valley.
Environment of the valley. You've got a very technological society that we all live in with digital computers, so a lot of staring at monitors. That leads to issues related to the eyes. So that's a big focus for our office. And then we're big on family, so pediatrics is big for us as well. All of our doctors have kids, and certainly that's a big pride and joy for us, as well as making a difference for all of our patients that are young ones for academics and long-term vision.
Now, if someone's younger, high school, junior high, and they're interested in becoming an optometrist, what are some courses they can take, or what are some things they should look for in high school or in college to get them prepared to be an optometrist?
Certainly. So I think in high school, it's all about prepping to get into college. College, it's a matter of doing all the pre-science courses. So heavy science, heavy math, and because there's some prerequisites to get into optometry school. And then there's actually an admissions test as well called the OAT, optometric
Okay,
admissions
so kind of
test.
like how law school has their
Absolutely.
version, optometry has theirs.
Right, so it's kind of like one hoop, one hoop, one hoop.
Okay.
You know, all these different criteria. So you definitely have to have a desire to do it, because at the end of it, it's a lot of time, a lot of commitment, and certainly a lot of money. In our office, we've over the years have taken, you know, some students that are patients of ours are like, hey, I'm interested in optometry. You know, and it doesn't take a lot to have that conversation, but certainly we will invite them into the office to shadow. It's one thing to sit as a patient, it's another to sit as, you know, a staff member or a doctor in the exam lane and have that repetition to really figure out if that's something you really have in your heart to do. Because as we all know as adults, you better love what you're doing. Because otherwise, every day is a very long day.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Lee, we appreciate you having us out.
Thank you for having me.
And as a token of
Appreciate
our gratitude, we want to thank you for helping us do the math.
Awesome.
And we always look for different ways we can do the math, whether it's through a lot of different career paths, but today looking at vision and optometry. So again, thank you for letting us come out.
Appreciate you.
Well, big thanks to Dr. Lee right there, and also big thanks to Mick, one of our tutors, and it's nice to have him go in and make sure his eyes are well since he's working with us here on Do the Math. In studio, we've got Cece and we've got Anderson, a 6th grade student from Hart Elementary, has been working on some equations and checking them today, and he did the work on the paper just a moment ago, but then looked at the way he did it on the board, and you guys take it away from there.
Go ahead. So tell us what happened.
So when I solved it on my paper, I ended up with -5
Okay.
is equal to 1x.
Okay.
And on this, I ended up with 5 is equal to 1x.
Okay, so then you had to figure out which one was right. So which one's right?
It'd probably be the paper one,
Why?
because I forgot the step of bringing down the negative. It's only divided by 7.
So a negative divided by a positive gives us a
Negative.
negative. There you go. Okay, so
Same
go ahead and
way.
throw your negative in there. All right, so we have x is equal to -5, so we know we should go ahead and check that. So we're going to do what we did before.
And you already have the negative symbol there, so just put,
Well, do I? Is that a negative symbol?
I mean, no, it would be a subtraction
It
symbol.
was 7 minus our x value. Our x value is
-5.
-5, so we need to substitute in -5. Yeah, sorry, I made that kind of small.
And I'm glad this worked out like this, Cece, because this actually came up in class with another student where they had 7 minus -5, and we had 3 different answers.
Oh,
So I'll let
3,
you guys
wow,
keep on going
okay,
with
all
this.
right.
And then negative 5.
Okay, so do you know what that's called, putting the negative 5s in there for x? You know what word that is that starts with an S?
No,
Substitution. There, you can add that to your...
never heard of it.
You've never had a substitute teacher?
Well, I haven't had a substitute teacher.
Right, that stands in place for your teacher, right?
Oh.
So this is,
So
the
number-
x was standing in place of the negative 5, and so we're substituting it back in. Anyway, continue.
So then I would do the simple multiplication.
Is that the order, if we're doing precise order of operations, what should we do first?
First, we'd probably go over here and do this multiplication. But since they're separated by this, it wouldn't really affect anything.
You're right, we absolutely could. I'm gonna suggest maybe we start here though. Let's work within our grouping symbols first.
Yeah. So 7 minus 5x. 7 minus negative 5,
Yes.
which would equal 2. It's just the same as adding negative.
It is the
it's
same as adding.
It's same as
so
adding a positive 5.
So our answer is?
It would be 7 plus 5. We did it, I think, over here somewhere.
What's 7 plus 5?
7 plus 5 is 12.
There you go. Okay, I like it.
Now, once again, further emphasizes my point why you want to verbalize things, because you were already set to put a 2 up there. Whether or not it was going to be positive or negative was irrelevant,
Yeah.
right? Because once you verbalized it and kind of now keep going.
Okay, so we've got the 12 that was inside of our set of parentheses. So keep going, show us the rest of it.
I mean, we have a bit more space here, so might as well get rid of this part.
Well, let's bring down the 5 and at least kind of capture what's happening in that
5,
portion.
and then usually dot would
Good,
represent
I like the dot.
multiplication.
I prefer the dot. Why do we prefer the dot?
It's smaller.
And
Well,
if we put an X there,
it could be like
aren't we kind of confusing ourselves with what where the X's
it
are?
could be like 5x x, and you get all messed up.
Yeah, it's just, we're gonna say no. Let's just not do that. Let's use the dot, because we're using X's here to, symbolize what numbers are missing, so we don't want to do that.
So then you would carry this down if you didn't do this step, but
Okay.
here we're gonna do 12 times negative 5.
Which is?
Well, negative times positive is equal to negative.
Okay.
And for 12s, it would usually be, or for double digits, you multiply by the first number, 10.
Okay.
So you carry the 1. Then you multiply by the second number, 5.
Okay.
The 1 carried down makes it 6.
Okay.
So you have 60
Okay.
negative.
Okay.
And then here, what do you just keep this symbol?
Yeah, you're gonna keep it's subtraction or
Yeah.
plus negative. You're fine. Okay, so we need to figure out this part though, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, what's that?
This part is equal to 5 times, well, you just did it over here.
Yeah, we did.
So that you would get 60, but this time it's all positive.
Good.
So your answer would be positive.
Okay.
So 60. In the end, you carry that down, negative 60,
Okay.
and
That equals
0.
fabulous. So we're good. Yay.
There you go, nicely done. So, what do you think is the most confusing part? Because you've done a couple of them. Were there any parts of the equations that seemed a little more confusing than others?
I mean, sometimes the simplest parts are the hardest.
Right, because a lot of
Agreed.
times, if you think about it, getting rid of the parentheses, all you're doing is multiplying.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing is multiplying, something you learned in 2nd and 3rd grade.
Yeah.
Once you multiply and get rid of the parentheses, all you're doing is adding like terms. So you're simply adding numbers. The thing that gets kids is sometimes you're adding negative numbers. And that, I think, is the part that gets a little confusing sometimes for students. So with more practice, you're doing a 1st and 3rd grade skill just at a higher level, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
All right.
Nicely done.
Hey, we do have phone tutors available on Tuesdays and Wednesdays throughout most of the school year, and we're going to check out this and be right back.
We are here at the second annual East Kern Career Expo. Our goal is to expose students in East Kern County to the opportunities available in their backyard. If a student can visualize themselves in a career, it is so powerful in their understanding of what their life could look like. We want to bring students to meet actual people within that organization so they can ask questions. What is their day-to-day life like? What kind of work-life balance do they have? What kind of benefits are there? What will my day look like? What will I actually be doing? And if a student can get that exposure, then they can make a better decision for their future.
So I got my degree in business at Cal State Bakersfield. You guys remember that? I am actually the first one in my family to ever go to college, so it's really nice for me to be able to talk to kids and inspire them to go to school because it was a really big achievement for me even just to get my degree and then go on to get like my dream job of being a manager within such a big facility where we're actually producing chips for our community. Some people always stop when we say, oh yeah, we hire engineering degrees because we have so much automated machinery within our facility that really need those talented people that went to school to get those degrees. You can go to Cal State Bakersfield, you can get your degree in business or engineering and then find a local job here in Kern County that will provide you the life that you've always looked for.
So glad to slow down to like pretty cool. That's so cool.
Our county is number 4 for STEM jobs in the country. Our STEM jobs do not look like other cities. And the wonderful thing is there's so many career pathways. You can have a high school degree and Voc Tech program, as well as 2- and 4-year degrees plus. So it's incredible opportunities for upward mobility. And we want these kids to understand there's many ways to have a successful career, and it's not just one pathway that they need to choose, but the multitude of opportunities.
How much power is going to your
Having them hands-on and sitting in the actual opportunity that they can see themselves in the future gives them much more of an ability to move forward and seek that knowledge to get where they want to go, particularly through the Kern Education Pledge and the K-16 Collaborative, where we are reaching out and adventuring with business partners and really focusing on the areas that are not only a need here in Kern County, but a need for our students and how we can work with our partners to provide the education while we have them in the classroom setting.
Me, paramedic school would be really cool to do.
And I'm really interested in the EMT. I thought that was really interesting. I really liked the girl in there. She was good at answering our questions.
I was very interested in the hall ambulance as well. I think that the schooling is very much something that I could see myself looking into in the future.
Same here. Like, they just got all of our attention, and it's just crazy what they do.
I was surprised at the breadth and variety available to the students, the hands-on outside vehicles and activities, as well as the science-based and engineering-based virtual simulations, conversations, and activities for the students. I really appreciate the partnership with KCSOS, the county office, with our schools, and having this in East Kern is great because that's where our students live and that's where these opportunities lie.
For a student to be able to say like, wow, I could see myself doing this, or like, oh my gosh, you get to go do that in your job, I didn't even know that was an option, is like the most exciting thing, and that happens today, and so I feel so honored to be part of that.
And those are always some great events, and that one out at East Kern right there. And there'll be another one coming up in this part of Bakersfield in the springtime also. So, Anderson, 6th grade student from Hart.
Yes.
So, have you given it any thought what you'd like to do in the future as far as an occupation, maybe?
I'm probably thinking about going to space.
Oh, so you like the space thing, right? And a lot of NASA stuff?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, you know what? You ought to check out some of the programs, because a lot of times we check out This Week at NASA. And we actually had one of the videos on yesterday. So if you look at yesterday's program, you'll be able to see what's going on this week at NASA. Did you learn a little something today?
Yeah.
I should say you did. You did a lot of great problems right there. Did you have fun today?
Yeah.
Good. That's the most important thing right there. And until we meet again, continue to do the math.
Major support for Do the Math has been provided by Chevron, the Kern County Superintendent of Schools, Edison International, Valley Strong Credit Union, Panama Buena Vista Union School District, and the Kern High School District. With additional production assistance provided by these supporters of education in Kern County and throughout the state of California.